To you. So today what we're gonna talk about is something that whenever I was doing I'm in the middle of a 5-day challenge. A lot of you guys already know that. It's a living room to launchpad challenge. We're setting up the first profitable income stream. Anyway, so yesterday, I think it was yesterday, where I was telling them, it was yesterday or the day before. My days are running together now. Um, I'm sure you're familiar. I'm sure I'm not the only one. It's almost Christmas and I have no idea what day it is, right? So, anyway, whenever I was going over some training stuff with them, I was letting them know the beginning stages and the beginning days of my own, business, and as we were setting up our income streams and that sort of thing. And then as I was talking about it, I was like, I don't really talk about this a whole lot. And then I was like, is this helpful for you guys? And they're like, freaking yes, please talk about this more. And yeah, so anyway, now I'm just going to talk about it because one of the things they were really surprised at is how long it took me to actually hit like sort of like these different levels that I think people expected took way longer than they actually did. And maybe that can be just really helpful to you to hear real life accounts of how long it took. So I'll just kind of get into that, right? So whenever I quit my job, we all know the story. If you don't know the story, I'm just going to say it really quick. Basically, I worked at GoDaddy for a little over 5 years in leadership. Loved GoDaddy. It's a great company to work for. Took very, very good care of us, right? My husband ended up quitting his job because he did not like his job, and he was the last person that would talk to somebody before their car got repoed. So he had to deal with that kind of stuff. And he's just a loving guy. So having to deal with that is kind of just heartbreaking for him. So it was taxing on him mentally, honestly. And so anyway, I brought him home from work because I made really good money. His parents ended up moving into our house with us. We got a really expensive house. And the reason why it was so expensive was because it had like basically 2 living areas, right? There was a kitchen upstairs, a kitchen downstairs. And so like 2 families could kind of live there, right? And so his parents ended up moving in with us because his dad lost his job. And in your 70s, you don't go look for another job. And so we just did that. And anyway, so there's 2 families living in my home. And we had a baby, right? I get a video while I'm at work sitting in my carpeted cubicle that smelled like the 60s. I think we're all familiar with that place. And I get a video, and without going into all of it right now, we don't have time because this isn't the purpose of the talk. I just want to give you some background. It was Nora taking her very first steps. And it was in that moment that I was like, not right or wrong, but am I okay with this? Am I okay with missing this stuff, right? Like for me, am I okay with it? And I wasn't. And that day I went home and I told Mike I was going to quit my job. And whenever I told him that, I thought he was going to hyperventilate. Everything historically about Mike would make him hyperventilate in that moment or pass out or whatever, right? Have some sort of very just like dramatic reaction because he's the guy that holds the string to my balloon, so to speak, right? He's the guy that like, I'm the one that's like, oh, okay, let's do this, let's do that. And he's like, yeah, but, okay, bills and, reality. And so everything pointed to the fact that he was going to freak out. But what he did instead is he looked at me and he said, Martha, if you don't do this, you're not only doing yourself, but everybody around you a disservice. And it was in that moment that I was like, oh, this is real. A, who is that? I'm talking through him right now. But B, this is real. Like, this is actually something that I need to do. It's not just something I want to do, but something I need to do. And normally at this part in the story, I would be like, and the rest was history, but the rest shouldn't be history. The rest should be fully documented and accounted for you guys to truly understand what's real for you, right? Because when like I kind of just gloss over some stuff because I think that it doesn't really matter, when I do that, you're like, yeah, but I lost the trail of breadcrumbs, right? It's like I lost the scent. I see where you were and I see where you are. I lost the scent here. And so I don't want you guys to lose the scent. So let this video be the breadcrumbs or the scent, so to speak, okay? What I did first is I started I started looking up online how to be able to grow your business from home. That's the scariest Google search in history, right? You're going to find a bunch of Google bros, a bunch of dude bros. That's new though. A bunch of dude bros sitting on the front of rented Ferraris, and you're going to be like, feels skeezy, but it looks like they are where I want to be, so maybe I'll listen to them. Don't. I did. You'll find out just a bunch of stuff that doesn't actually work. God bless them. But it's just a bunch, they're just good salespeople, all right? They're just good marketers or good salespeople, not necessarily good teachers, good mentors, or, I mean, a lot of them probably just don't really even care about the people that they're helping. There might be some out there that do, but I do not know why they're using the tactic of sitting on rented Ferraris, because that does not, it does not communicate I care about you a whole lot. So anyway, I started doing that, and then so I like started taking their courses and stuff, and because of my background at GoDaddy, I was like, well, that's not how that works. And that's not how that works. And that's not how that works, right? Like that, I'm like, this is like, I am in the land of charlatans. I am in the land of people that don't really know what they're talking about, but are acting like they know what they're talking about. And once I knew that, I was like, oh, shoot, man, I need to get out of the land of the charlatans, and I need to just make my own way. I need to figure it out myself. And so that's where I did a try, fail, try, fail, try, fail. Guys, I tried and failed for about 3 years. Okay, now, did I make it enough to be able to feed my family and be comfortable? Yes. All right, so what I did in that moment was I did the best that I could, right? So I knew SEO really, really well. Like, I understand SEO, or search engine optimization, how you move your website to the top of the search engines. I understand that like on an organic level. Like, I can see when the algorithm changes. I just know it. It's sort of a weird thing, but it's a thing that has served me very well. So, and my people. And so, that I started an agency, and I was like, well, I'll serve local businesses with SEO stuff, right? And so then I, just for anybody that's watching that's like, well, maybe I want to do agency stuff. I don't necessarily teach agency work because I didn't love agency work. If we're honest, I didn't love it. It was another tether. It was another job. For me, I didn't love it, and so it was another just job for me, but it was from home, and so that was enough for me at that point. And so, I got a membership at the Chamber of Commerce, the local Chamber of Commerce. It was something like $200 a year. And I started teaching classes on how to do the thing that I know how to do, right? And so whenever I started teaching classes on that, then people that would come to the classes would be like, oh, she looks like she knows what she's talking about on doing that thing. And I do. And then they would, at the end, they would be like, that sounds really good, but I don't want to do it, right? So then they would hire me to do it for them. And again, I'm not singing the praises of agency work. Agency work is very, very hard work. It's very, very hard work. Some people just love it, and that's great. What I did is I grew out of it, and I grew into my own personal brand, right? And so my try, fail, try, fail, try, fail was my try, fail at scale, okay? Because I always had a vision of scale, of massive scale, and of massive impact. Okay. And doing local, like my own town that I was in, SEO was not scale and was not scalable at that point in time, right? Is it maybe more scalable now? Yes, but it's still more headache than I want, right? We're homeschooling, like I've got stuff going on. I don't need the headache of agency, but What I did was I went from that. I was doing that for about 3 years, and that's when I crossed over into personal brand, which is what I still teach today. It's what took me to 7 figures and what I still teach today. So I was and before agency, I guess I should say this, before I even quit my job, I was doing affiliate marketing. So that was always a low level thing that was going on. And then I did the agency because that was what was going to pay the bills at that point in time, right? And so I was covered and I was taken care of. But then after about 3 years, whenever I quit that and I started just teaching, mentoring, doing my own personal brand, doing what I'm teaching in HBR, within the first, is it 5 months? 6 months. Within the first 6 months of that, I was already at 100K plus a month. Okay, within the first 6 months of running my personal brand stuff. So it's like I cracked the code. It's like I spent 3 years kind of like learning different things, learning what I wanted, and I think more importantly, learning what I didn't want, right? But then moved all of that knowledge, applied it to myself, to my personal brand, and how I wanted to serve. And from that moment, it only took within 6 months till we were at 7 figures, right? And that's what I want you guys to hear, is that it took 3 years of me figuring it out. 3 years, right? But once I figured it out, and now it's a system. It's like it's simple, right? I could use the word easy because it's not difficult, but it's also just really simple. You don't really have to, and now with AI, it's gotten easier and easier and easier because you no longer really need to be a great writer. You have to be a great editor. You need to be able to edit in your own voice, but you don't have to be a great writer by any means. And so now it's become so much more easy. So if we had today, like when I quit my job, if what's available today, if HBR honestly was available today when I quit my job, within 12 weeks, I would have had all my stuff set up and ready to go. And that's what we're doing in January. You know what I'm saying? Like in January, I'm going to be walking you guys through. And if you're already in HBR, holler if you hear me, right? Because you're coming through it as well. This is not like, oh, it's an additional. No, like if you're in HBR, you're always in HBR. That's my heart, is to serve you always and forever. And you guys know that. And so we're walking through the 12 weeks of using these new tools to be able to crank it out. Okay? So so again, it took 3 years for me to be able to hit, 3.5, I guess, within 6 months of that third year. So about 3.5 years for me to be able to hit 7 figures. But for you guys, it shouldn't take that long. With what we're doing, it really shouldn't take that long. And that's without running ads. I'm running some ads right now to lead magnets. Like you might see some of my ads around for lead magnets, but that's all it's for, is lead magnets. It's not for anything else. I have like a quiz out there and I have 10 tools out there and stuff like that. And that's just because I need people to know who I am if I plan on having the impact that I plan on having. And so that's a tool to be able to do that, right? But to be able to super scale, which is where I'm at this point. But just so you guys know, it didn't take that long. It's only so it's almost 2024. So it's almost 8 years ago. Almost 8 years ago is when I quit my job. It was February 2016 is when I quit my job, to be very specific. And so it's been since then, but it was only 3.5 years after I quit my job from all of the sort of like failing, looking like an idiot, whatever. But I also think it's important to say, and then I'm going to pop off of here because now I feel like I'm getting long-winded, but it's also important to say that I never gave up. That in moments where I was like, how am I going to make this work? Like, I don't like this. I didn't just say, I don't like this, I'm going to quit. I said, I don't like this, how do I fix it? That's different. It's not, I don't like this, so I'm going to quit, or I don't like this, so it's not for me. It's, I don't like this, let me fix it. Let me make it better. It's sitting there thinking, how do I make this better? Which is what I always do with HBR, which is why we have the new HBR coming out. Because I'm like, how do I make it better? How do I make them more successful faster? That's like always my goal. It's in case you're like, hey, I'm new to you. That's always my goal. And anybody knows it. That's always my goal. How can, it's you, it's your family. How can I make you successful faster? Period. That's what everything runs through the filter of. That's my world. So anyway, that's what I just wanted to like be able to explain that to you guys, because it seemed like whenever I talked about it in the challenge, people were like, what? Whoa. And I'm like, oh, you guys don't know that? Like, I guess I don't talk about that enough. So anyway, that's it. If you want in HBR, we start January 1st. You need to get in as quick as possible though, because I'm also giving you guys a personal custom blueprint for who you're serving, what they want from you, a year of content for them, what a signature program looks like for them that they would want. Like, it's 50 to 60 pages, guys, of straight gold about your person. And when you have that paired with what we do in HBR, and you're guns blazing. You are hitting the ground running, but you need to, I mean, it takes time to make those. So we start January 1st, but you need to jump in as quickly as possible so I have time to generate that report for you and get it back to you so you've got it whenever you start. Okay? Sound good? Anyway, I love you guys. Adios.